and welcome to Jinja Island in Panama, Bocas del Toro. Sorry I was a little bit late getting started there. I forgot something really, really important for this time of day when it's been raining all night, which is a mosquito coil. If I don't have that, I will get bitten to death while doing the show. And as much as I love you, I don't want to die while making it. Missing morning cuppa, says MH Carer. Yeah, we're going at 1 o'clock British time now. It's 8 o'clock, so it's morning brew for me. It's afternoon brew for you. I'm just calling it island brew. Let's meet in the middle. But I don't have a brew this morning. I've just got water. Just got water in my cup because I just had loads of stuff to sort out before I got started this morning. Well, it's so good to see you all, metaphorically, I guess. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about what we can do now that the baddies have won. So we're in our sort of Empire Strikes Back mode. Oh, I'm wearing a Star Wars t-shirt. That's a bit on point, isn't it? You know, what do you do at the end of Chinatown when the baddies have won? Oh, sorry, I don't mean to mess. I don't mean to do any spoilers there, but yeah, there's a few movies where the baddies well and truly win, and apparently, not all people feel this way. But if you are autistic or ADHD, you're more likely to have a raging sense of injustice about these things. And I remember specifically watching Chinatown as a teenager, and I couldn't sleep afterwards. I couldn't sleep because not only the director got away with raping a 13-year-old girl, spoiler, but also, the baddies win. The baddies, you grow up when you're a kid thinking, wouldn't it be cool if they made a movie where the baddies won instead of the goodies, And then they'd make that film and you're like, oh my God, I did not want this. I did not want this. So I was discussing a little bit. I'll say hello to everyone in chat. Howdy, Nick and Diff is there. Hello from Panama to Cardiff. What a beautiful mangrove. There's a beautiful mangrove behind me. And I'm in my hammock. I cannot be convinced that Island Brew isn't a tropical cocktail. It probably should be. You need lots of water. Stay hydrated. Thanks, Mom. We've got Jup James in there, Lee Corn. We've got MH Carer. We've got Martin Harrow and Gallifane. Hello. We haven't got the usual number of people this morning. We'll have to get used to the new time. And obviously people are working because it's Monday, innit? They're working. Gareth T says afternoon. It is. Well, for you it is, not for me. So anyway, yeah. So we could talk a little bit, and indulge me on this, and let me know your thoughts about what progressive types like us lot can do in the face of Trump winning, the Republicans taking not just the Senate, but also the House of Representatives, and also they have complete control over the Supreme Court, which will rule any way Trump wants. So Trump will say, I want you to rule that. I have, something ridiculous, like I can do what I like, including killing people, and no one can do me for it in a court of law. And they're like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. I mean, that's fanciful, really, isn't it? I mean, you couldn't imagine actually a Supreme Court saying that to a president. Oh, they did. Yeah, they already did that. Forget it, Graham, it's Chinatown, and I am sure you know your T-shirt looks back to front for your audience. Does it? Oh, man, hang on. Let me just turn that around then. No. Oh, hang on. Let's go to take it to the... That's my view. That's my view of the mango. Do you want to see out there? Look. Got me cast this morning. But, the bottom of my tripod isn't so... hang on, 1 sec, everyone. Sorry. Right, there you go. Right, so that's basically my view out there. It's very calm this morning. Out on the lagoon. The lagoon. Right, okay. Should have gone. I didn't realise that I'm back to front on my phone. That's a bit rubbish, isn't it? I assumed I'd be going out normally, like a normal person. Greetings from Scotland, says Gaynor. Greetings from Panama. I'm just adjusting my tripod. There was a fine line between good and bad. Cowboys against Indians, as example. Indeed. Hello, Graham. Glad you got there. Thanks, Mike. It was a bit of a journey. Can I just talk about this for a moment? So, obviously, you've got to get to Panama. There's no direct flights from the UK to Panama, so you've got to go via the US. Or you can go via Europe. So you can go via Madrid, Paris, or Amsterdam, I think. So I went via Amsterdam. And I got here on Friday, met up with my attorney's right-hand man here in Panama because I've got some legal work to do for the island. So we signed the documents in the car on the way to the bus station. Got to the bus station, bought me ticket, quickly stuffed some food in me face, Carl's Jr. if you're interested, and then got on the bus. The bus left at 8:30, and it was supposed to be getting in at night. I was supposed to be getting in at 7 a.m. the next morning. It actually got in at like 3 p.m. the next day. So yeah, that was a good. And then I had to get from the port on the mainland to the big island here, which is called Isla Colon, which is where Bogus Town is. And then I had to, get me shopping and get on a boat and come here to Jinja Island, which takes about 20 minutes. So the whole journey took over 40 hours from Durham to Jinja. Took 40. It normally doesn't take that long. And I'm sitting there on this bus as we're not going anywhere because there was all floods. That's why climate change again. Climate change just ruining everything. There were floods outside Panama City, so all the traffic was diverted through little roads. We essentially just sat there doing nothing for hours on end. But yeah, so next time I might fly when my sugar daddy comes in. And yet, hearing South Yorkshire have clear blue sky. Well, there you go. You're probably not sweating as much as me, though. Trump is a walking contradiction. He'll make things worse for Americans, and hopefully they'll give him a kicking in the midterms. I don't think they will. I don't think there's going to be any midterms. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I think this is it. I think this is the end of the American democracy. He said, vote for me and you'll never need to vote again. It's not a good sign, is it? What can we do about America? Nothing really, from outside the US at least. No, that's the thing, Swag. So this isn't about what we can do for America, but more like what we can do for ourselves. Okay, so the way it's panned out is that America it's beyond, isn't it? I mean, let's face it, they have set things up for themselves to fail on every level. And yeah, I can't see them getting out of it themselves. But what we can do for ourselves is make sure that we don't feel completely despondent, oh my God, what's the point? Because there's always a point. And that's why it's really important when, something bad happens that you sort of take stock of the situation and realize that, say you lose someone that you love, then at least you had that time with them, At least we had a good run where America wasn't overrun by tyrannists. Is that a real word? I don't know. Terrorists, right-wing terrorists, right? The Texas Taliban. But yeah, what we can do for ourselves is, I'm thinking about ways of organising the progressives, whether they're left, centre, whatever, towards a common goal. And I talked about this last week a little bit when I said it would be great if we had a sort of website that could fight misinformation. It's sorely needed. But over the weekend, I sort of had discussions. It maybe got a little bit heated, but it was basically about this, right? If me or Tansky or Aid or any of the others who you know and follow on here, Max, were making right-wing content, the right wing would sponsor us to do it. They'd pay us to do it. So we had a full-time job with all the benefits that come from having a full-time job. So like holiday pay and sick pay and maternity and paternity leave and all that kind of stuff, and a minimum wage. Whereas because we're left-wing content creators, we don't get any of that shit. We have no job security. If we're ill, we don't make any money. If we want to go on holiday, we don't make any money. We completely rely on people like yourselves watching our content and contributing what you can. And as a result, it means that a lot of us on the left are very, very, strung out. There's no union representing us. And there's no left-wing philanthropist who's willing to do something sensible, like say, okay, we're going to take 10 of you British progressive content creators, and we're going to do you a deal, right? You get 100% of whatever you want in terms of, hello, got some visitors. You get 100% of what you want in terms of being able to make your own content, but also we will pay you a wage to make this stuff. right? And it's a job. It's a and you get to keep whatever you make on Twitter. Sorry, not Twitter. Fucking hell. Whatever you make on YouTube on top of that. So that would be something that I would like to see put together, like a progressive alliance that actually funds the content creators who are making this stuff. I'm not saying that, we're worth $1 million or anything like that, but you know what? At this stage, just fucking minimum wage would do, seriously. It's all because I'm seeing my friends who are making content really suffering from burnout after, a year of relentlessly putting content out pretty much every single day, and they can't stop. They can't stop. This is the problem with content creation. If you stop, you don't get any money, and especially if you're talking about what's in the news, that makes it even more sort of, that makes it even more difficult because none of your old videos get any views at all. At least if you're making evergreen stuff about travel or whatever, people will watch your video from last year, but people aren't going to watch something that I've made from like 3 weeks ago. They just won't. So that sort of thing, you would think there were some people on, who had money, who are on the left, who would like to support that, but there aren't. And I think it's just because pretty much everyone who's got any money in this life is just instantly goes incredibly right wing. I was thinking of someone, someone that I don't know directly, but they had a terrible childhood. Single mum, struggling to bring up the kids. They had severe medical issues as a child, and then someone who really, really did rely on the system being there for them. And then they grew up and they married a millionaire, and now they are pro Boris Johnson, pro Tories, pro Trump, pro MAGA. And it's like, okay, so that's what it is, isn't it? Like, there was a question asked, like, what on QI once, what's the fastest way to make someone who's a lifelong Labour voter vote Conservative? And it's have them win the lottery. And I don't know what we do about that. I don't know, as a collective, like, when I know it always feels like we're sort of saying, oh, we could do with a few bob, we could do with it, but we really could. It would be really, really, really helpful just to know that whether you put out content, whether the video was well received, whether it's not well received, it would be nice to know that you had a wage coming in each week through some kind of like progressive foundation or whatever. It's what they do on the other side. Look at Tufton Street. And a lot of these right-wing podcasters, provocateurs, whatever you want to call them, they're all paid. They don't just make money from their sales of their merchandise on their site. They don't. They have got someone backing them in order to get to the point where they can just live off their YouTube royalties. The rest of us don't have that. And there are people out there who are brilliant. They're charismatic, kind, funny, generous, hilarious, and they should be online. They should be making stuff, but they can't because this situation where, YouTube, you work for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, in my case, 20 years, 18, don't exaggerate, Graham, to try and make it so you can live off your YouTube income. And it's still, it's not guaranteed to work. Really, it's not guaranteed to work. I can't stress that enough. Anyway, I'm going to get back into the chat now, see what you guys think. Hi, Graham. Got on my onboarding email from ADHD 360 this morning, close to getting my assessment. That's cool. I think I'm getting mine in January. If I'm still around by then. In the US, build up locally. The Dems have sucked at a state level stuff. They need to fix that. Also, they need to do a Labour and ruthlessly focus on building a platform that can win. Because not being Trump isn't enough, clearly. But also, I mean, if you are in America, I'll just tell you to get out now. I mean, this isn't about Trump necessarily. This is about the fact that half the voting population of America think it's acceptable for a rapist to be the leader of the free world. And for me, that is just, I don't want to go to that country. I don't want anything to do with it. It's a terrible place. Clearly, we can make excuses for the fact that Hamas has run the Gaza Strip for the last 20 years, because we can say, well, well, 18, don't exaggerate, Graham. They have that they were voted in. They were voted. They had elections. They were voted in. Yeah, but once they were voted in, they didn't have any elections anymore. The Taliban were not voted in Afghanistan, but in America, the Texas Taliban have been voted in. I would get out if you can. I know it's not easy, but Canada's nice this time of year. No, it's not. It's winter. Central America, maybe. Um, what's behind your normal? So that's what's behind your normal green screen. Bloody knew it. The world famous mangroves of Durham, indeed. You can see just Yoda poking out between the. Welcome along, Alistair. It's 8 in the morning for Graham, if anyone wonders. I agree. No more free and fair elections in the US, indeed. I was going to say the water looks high. I hope no hin tides. Yeah, the island's flooded. The island's fucked. I mean, like, I'm going to be talking about this on another show, but I'm sure. But yeah, climate change has meant that the once in a blue moon flood of the island, which would happen if it really, really rained, or we had a particularly high tide. That's now once a day. It's gone from like once a year, if that, to like once a day. So yeah, we're bringing soil over to the island, but that is bitchin' expensive. Can you imagine, like, how do you bring soil over to an island? You got to bring it on a boat. You need people to load and offload. You need to get the soil in the first place. Where do you bring it from? You got to pay for the fuel. You got to, yeah, it's. I don't know how much work I don't know how much good I'm going to be able to do while I'm here, to be honest with you. Miracle, YouTube didn't filter that. Well done, you. Is America baiting with Russia now? Yes, masturbating. Svax, well, there is no good reason to believe what he says. He lies and waffles a lot. I have a feeling that American democracy may not survive. Yes, I don't think it will. I don't think it will. And I hate that we're having. So I'm going to have to move my mosquito thing because it's not working. It's not actually the mosquitoes that are the problems here. It's the chitras or the no-see-ums or the sandflies, as they're also called, which are tiny little bastards. You see on my finger there. And you see that little tiny dot on my finger. You probably can't even see it. But yeah, they come out at dawn and dusk and make you scratch like nobody's business. I can see some on the screen like walking around. I can't see a future. I've lost all hope. Pushed all my friends who told me this wouldn't happen. Nothing left. No hope. Vortex Lisa, look, we've still got hope. We've still got hope. I'm a bit annoyed with people who said this wouldn't happen because I feel like whenever I brought it up on this channel, I was kind of shouted down. The fact that he might win. No, don't say that, Graham. You'll jinx it. Like, saying it would make it happen. Like, we have that power to manifest reality by just thinking about stuff. And this, I think, is a problem that the left often face, which is like they tend to, not everyone, but they tend to just go, no, we're not even going to consider this outcome. And I'm sitting there going, no, you should consider this outcome because this is probably what's going to happen. And copium is a powerful drug, or hopium. But I've not really pushed away my friends who are like that with me. But I would say, like, there is hope in that America is not the world. And we have a Labour government, thank God, in the UK at the moment. And the way that, Trump wants to take the world in the next few years, we don't have to follow. We do not have to follow. We don't have to follow them out of NATO. We don't have to follow them with withdrawing from support for Ukraine. We don't have to support them with any of the mad shit they're going to do. And if they do put on tariffs on everything coming into the country, which would be economic suicide, Trump might know that. I don't know. He has a bit of a speciality in like bankrupting casinos and stuff. So if he bankrupted America, I mean, that's one hell of a casino to bankrupt. At least that will, if you want to have a look at things that are, the positive spin on this is that at least it would drive us closer to our own continent, to the European Union and our friends in Europe, who are going to be absolutely essential in us just getting through the next few years. And although I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, and I don't want to be sitting here going, oh God, it's awful, it's never going to get better, I think America is in this for a very long time. I'm not talking 4 years. I think this is going to be probably the rest of my life. America's going to be fucked. It is. And if you are American and you live there and you can get out, my advice, get out. Because what? I mean, have you got kids? Have you not got kids? Do you want kids? Do you want them growing up in a society where the rapists are running around like having a field day and bragging about how they're going to rape everyone because they're allowed to do that now, and they're going to force you to have force you or your daughters to have their baby by law, and if there's a complication, you can die because there's a complication, but they can't do anything about it because that will be abortion. It is the Taliban. It is the Taliban have taken over the USA, and like with the Taliban in Afghanistan, they will just marginalize all the different groups. Anyone who's not, full on. Is it the Pashtun? Is it that they uphold, and everyone else can die, and women, and they just attack women. I mean, it's very dispiriting how many women voted for this. Right. So the LGBTQI people, QIA people I know and the US are rightfully terrified. Their own country is hostile to them, and by and large, they don't have the means to escape. I would suggest if they are in the US to get over to like what we're going to start calling a safe state, like New York or California. If they can get over there and you say this like it's dead easy because people tend to think like, oh, you can just move, can't you? Like it's just like it's just like going on holiday. Just get on the Greyhound. It's not that simple. You've got ties, you've got a home, maybe, you've got somewhere to live, you've got a job. Just upping sticks and taking everything you have and everything you know to another state or another country it's a wrench. But if I was living in California, if I was living in Kansas right now, or one of these horrific states that are going to just be plagued by, I assume, rape gangs who are going to go around with impunity. I mean, only 1 in 100 rapists ever get done for the crimes they commit. So yeah, especially with 2 young daughters, stepdaughters, I'll be getting out of there. I would be getting out. I don't care. I'll be a refugee. I would just be like, I'm not staying in this place with that threat looming over me. And I think a lot of Americans are going to buy guns more so than usual. And that plays into this whole thing is to make money for the gun manufacturers. Isn't that mad? Like Musk and Trump and Murdoch and everything they do, it's to make money for the arms manufacturers, the tobacco barons, and the murder fuel industry, the fossil fuel industry, which I'm going to call murder fuel from now on because it just murders people left, right, and centre. It's like living on the set of Get Smart. No such thing as normal. I'm hoping Biden deports and bans him from deports Oolong and bans him to. I don't know what you mean by that. The positive is Trump might get lazy and just go off and play golf. Yeah, he's not going to be particularly active, but he doesn't need to be. I mean, it's the people behind him, isn't it? The what are they called? The Heritage Foundation that are going to be pulling all the strings. They're the people who suggested the High Court justices that were put in. And Clarence Thomas and at least one other High Court, Supreme Court judge is going to retire now in the next year, and Trump will appoint someone who's horrible in his place. I think the Democrats should do everything in their power to stop them putting anyone on the bench, just leave it empty. That's what the Republicans did to them, and they should respond in kind. But I think one of the problems is with the Democrats, and it always reminds me of that movie, The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. You've got to get down and dirty sometimes. Sometimes you've got to get in the mud. And the Republicans, the Democrats seem like they've got to be the noble people. They're like they're too noble for their own good. It's kind of crazy. The hope is that cult of personality doesn't outlive its godhead. Your body, my choice. Nick Fuertes is a monster. That's from Fatgasm. Yes, absolutely. He got doxxed this weekend. Actually, people put his address out online, which normally I wouldn't agree with, but after what he said and then it being repeated, I mean, I do find it horrific that like people's daughters are now going to school with boys who are taking this all in. They watch Andrew Tate and those disgusting people who massive misogynists who want to put out this line of, oh, you can't get a date, or you can't get a girl to like you. Well, it's not your fault in any way. You shouldn't think about how you talk to people or how you come across or, your appearance or anything. What you should really work on is hating women forever, because that'll get you girls. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but that line is just disgraceful. Apparently, a woman knocked on his door and was actually assaulted by him. He sprayed a pepper spray in her face. So there's more news coming out about that as we speak. David Faulkner, thank you very much for the 38 Hong Kong dollars. First super chat of Jinja Island. Woo! I'm hoping that with Trump in the White House, it will push Britain back into Europe. Yes, I guess. Captain America Brave New World out February 2025 will hit way close to home now. President Ross is definitely turning into a huge red monster. Definitely art imitating life. Well, when Trump won this time, it was very much like Thanos' click, wasn't it? Hi all. There's been one that's due to retire, but I doubt Biden has the fight in him. Yeah, that's the problem with Biden, isn't it? He just doesn't seem to have the fight in him about these things. The worrying bit is the powers that be don't even need the tantrum anymore. He's expendable. Yeah, he's just a figurehead. I think he will just go and play golf. I don't think he's the problem. Well, he is the problem because he got elected. I don't think that anybody else could have got elected on his platform, you see, except for him. But he has been elected despite being an adjudicated rapist and a convicted criminal. And now he's going to go away with everything. And like I say, people who have an internal raging sense of injustice are finding this very, very hard to stomach. Why is it that the rich and powerful get away with murder, literal murder? 9 people died as a result of a riot that he fucking started. He started that riot. No one else started that riot. He started it. 150 police officers were injured, and it cost over $3 million worth of damage. It did $3 million worth of damage. And he's got away with it. If you did that, you'll be in jail for the rest of your life. You'd probably get the electric chair if you're in America. They still do that. Well, hello, Graham. How's life in your own little kingdoms? Asks Viv. It's all right. It's all right. There's a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. Basically fighting against climate change, which is not great. This is a mangrove island. As you can see, the mangroves behind me. And mangroves are a really, really effective form of carbon sink, like a really wonderful carbon sink. But as things stand, it's all a little bit, it's not great. The island's very, very flooded. If you follow me on any social media, you'll see the pictures I've put up. And you can follow me, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram and on Threads, just Graham David Hughes, just my name, look it up. And you can find out what's happening. Oh, my mum's there. Hi, Mum. Hi. Sean says, it's America's Brexit, the same voters, the voters giving in and the rest taking a punt. Did you hear Russian TV has put a nudie pic of Melanie Trump on the state TV? Bet that didn't go down well. No, who's Melanie? Who's Melanie Trump? Who's Melanie Trump? Mangroves are the essential lungs. Well, it's not the O2 that they let out. It's not the oxygen. It's the fact that they're carbon sinks. They take carbon out of the air and they put it down in the ground. And they're really clever. Like, I know it sounds a bit mad saying these plants are really clever, but I don't know if you can see there, but you can definitely see if I turn the camera around. Hang on. Let me just turn my camera around so you get the other view. If you look down there in the water, can you see there's leaves in there? Can you see those leaves in the water? There's little yellow bits in the water. They are mangrove leaves. And what the mangroves do, which I think is really cool and remarkable, is that, my tripod is not straight, and that's going to annoy the what's it called? There you go, that's better. That's going to annoy the OCD in me. They have you'll see on the trees that on every branch is a yellow leaf, And what that is it's got this really clever capillary system where it takes the salt out of the water because it can't use the salt water. So it takes the salt out of the water and then just has fresh water to use for itself, for its own processes. And it puts all the salt in a leaf. So it goes up and it grabs hold of it and it fills the leaf full of yellow. The leaf turns yellow and then it dies, sacrificial leaf, and then that lands on the ground. And the brilliant thing is that over the years, over hundreds of years, that creates land because it biodegrades into. It's really very clever. Deborah, thank you so much. 50 Canadian dollars. Yay! Thank you. We Canadians are horrified. We have our own Trump and election next year. I feel optimistic though, as reactions here have been a call to fight this end. Luckily, we had 9+ months for Canadians to watch the shit show down south unfold. Yeah. Well, that's the hope. I mean, that happened with Brexit in the UK. There were other countries pushing for some kind of Brexit, or the right wing were, and they shut. Once Brexit happened and it was an immediate disaster, a lot of other countries went, "Oh, we're not going to do that." Sacrificial Leaf will make a great band name, indeed, or maybe for an album. If you are American and trans, get a passport. Says Lucy. Yeah. So one of the things that Trump is saying that he's going to do. By the way, thank you so much for that super chat. That was really kind of you. Very, very generous. One of the things that Trump says he's going to do is he's going to force people to live under their gender that was assigned at birth, which is going to be completely mad because you're going to have very, very masculine-looking trans men who have to use the women's toilets now. I mean, I'm sure that's not going to cause any violence anywhere in the country. And basically what they've done in America is the trans people have become the new Jews in terms of these are acceptable people for even people who consider themselves to be progressive to hate. And it's so frustrating when you see someone who I'm sure they think of themselves as progressive people and yet they're transphobic. Why are they transphobic? Well, I'll tell you why, because they're actual bigots. But they've been told that bigotry is wrong, so they pretend not to be. I'm not a racist, but a lot of my friends are black, all that kind of shit. But then, you've got this sort of acceptance that, well, maybe there is a problem with trans people. Maybe there is a problem that trans people exist, which there isn't, in case you were wondering. But, they're obviously taking over women's sports. Like, anyone gave a shit about women's sports ever. Women weren't allowed to play football in this country till the 1980s. They weren't allowed to play football. They weren't allowed to become part of a league. If any stadium hosted a women's game, they would lose their chance to have then League One, the first division. They would lose their chance to have any football association matches in that stadium if they let women play. I think that was more of a problem. I think that was more of an issue overall. But this idea that this is the big thing. This is the big challenge that we're all facing is that, trans people exist is just so facetious and so, I mean, it's objectively horrible, but also it is something that all these people who you would think were outwardly quite sensible, like J.K. Rowling, they've gone for it, hook, line, and sinker. They've made it the whole life's work now to make life unpleasant. My frame rate's gone down a lot. Sorry about that. Trying to make life bloody intolerable for our trans friends, which is disgraceful. But yeah, I agree with Lucy there. If you're American and trans, yeah, now's the time to get a passport quite quickly if I were you. There are fish poo islands in Australia. Yeah, there's bird poo islands all over the place. Is though I've seen news videos from Canada, the cost of living crisis, it looks as bad there as it does everywhere, not looking good for Trudeau. Well, that's the thing, no government that's been in charge, except in Moldova, someone pointed out, has managed to, any government that's been in power during this massive inflation that we've seen around the world, post-COVID inflation, has managed to hang on to power. Workforce shortage we have here, yeah. Make it easier for all people. Make it easier for everyone. Could we have Americans claiming asylum in Europe? Yeah. When you said this country, did you mean No, I meant the UK probably. the news outlets here are mostly owned by American Republican hedge funds. Yeah, that's not great. Starlink says super tiny. Hello. My phone is overheating. I need to get like a fan for my phone. Hello, Graham's Hello, Graham's Frozen. The University of Sexology was a natural university that opened in Germany in 1918, studying gender and sexuality. It was shut down by the Nazis. It was one of the first things they did, wasn't it? Fascism. Buffering here, was it just me? No, it wasn't you. My phone overheated, I think, and my phone just shut down. So I took the case off. The case is really hot. I can feel the heat. It's doing a bit too much processing for it to like. But there you go. Saw a video today on my Celis network. Some guy playing acoustic guitar, playing a song called Cheap Eggs. Yeah. So Mexico might close its border. That'd be really funny. Well, that happens in the day after tomorrow, isn't it? The Mexicans close the border to stop the Americans from escaping. Yeah, I've got to say, like, Midas Touch and all that lot, Brian Taylor Cowan, and I probably shouldn't say this because, obviously they're just making content the same as me, but it kind of pissed me off the way that they were so, like, oh my God, Trump is going to fail. He's going to lose. And they'd always do these, like, clickbaity thumbnails. And, you have to make them a little bit clickbaity or no one will watch your bloody stuff. But, clickbaity stuff that was like, Trump is done for, Trump is demolished, this crushes Trump. And the reality was you'd watch the video and it'd be like someone said something mean about him on Twitter or something. It just wasn't as big as the thumbnail made it out to be. I don't think that them sort of going, he stands no chance, I don't think it helped. And I think what would really help in Canada right now is people panicking. I know, you don't want to send people into a panic, but you know what? If there is a fire in the fucking theatre, it's completely acceptable to shout fire in the theatre and not worry about like how this is going to look and whether it will upset people or not. Yeah, it might, but also in cases like in Canada in the next few months where you need to spur people into actually voting and getting their mates to vote and making it very clear that if their mates vote the other way, they will never talk to their mates ever again. That is it. I'm shutting you out my life. And see if it's worth it. See if they'll rather win some political beauty contest, or whether for someone that they don't even know, someone who wouldn't even piss on them if they were on fire, or whether they would like to keep their friendship or their relationship or whatever. BTC and Midas will pick up on the minutiae and ignored the bigger things. They were just trying to play to their progressive audience. I know, Alan, look, I guess I'm not the only one who noticed this or kind of got upset, annoyed about it. I hope we see the trans celebrities like Elliot Page help regular trans people. It doesn't turn into rich being okay and the poor suffer, says Anthony Fisher. I hope that too, mate, but I don't know. I wouldn't bank on it because, these stars are seemingly quite happy to go out and appear on a stage and say, I support this person. But when it comes to actually putting money where their mouth is, like, if an American celeb will put $1 million aside each year, $1 million a year for a progressive social network of, not a new social network, I mean, using the social networks that exist, using social media that exists, but having a network of contributors who make content that is, all different kinds of stuff. It's something that I wanted to do this with Labour Social when I first started the channel, but I wanted shows on this that weren't necessarily about politics. I wanted like comedy shows on here and just daft shit and animations and stuff about travel and stuff about sports and stuff about cars, because that brings people in. And then you can put a political message at the end of it. Do you know what I mean? You can point something out that, this particular car was X amount of money, but because of Brexit, it's now, Y amount of money or whatever it is. I wanted that to happen, but it never did. But because we just didn't have the resources to do it. You can't ask people to work every day of the week on something for free for what you get from super chats or the amount you get from YouTube advertising, which is fuck all. The supercharged, yeah. Not good, Chris. Trump is done, aka a video of a guy who owns a garage in some village in Idaho and sorry, in Ohio, saying they won't vote Trump because they think Trump is a screwball. I know. Hi all, just discovered where this chat is located. Damn, can't find my shades. It depends on the person. Jenna won't lift a finger for the community she exploited. Yeah, that's very true. But it wrong-footed everyone. Even Trump seemed to think he was losing by the end. Yeah, which made people complacent. So people didn't vote, and they didn't make it very clear to the other people in their lives what was going to happen. Haley says, yes, very panicked here. Mental health has collapsed and don't have a support network. Just one day at a time, pray the UCP doesn't get elected next year. So Haley, yeah, I would like, amongst others, I hope that we could be a support network for you. We're going to be here throughout the year, supporting progressive people around the world, not just in the UK. And yeah, just know that you're not alone. Know that there are thousands, millions of people, in the case of people hating Trump, billions of people who agree with you. They just don't happen to live in the US. But yeah, I don't want saying this could happen to create despondency. I want it to create, which I do think it does, a sense of like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do to contribute to making this horror show end as quickly as possible? What can I do to defend the people I know and love and people who need defending against the tyranny that is oncoming? And love the way, this propaganda thing, where they're saying, Trump is finished or whatever. It works both ways as well. They're talking about a red wave. Are you kidding me? It's like a 1% swing. It's a 1% swing. I mean, red fucking may behave. I have zero interest in visiting the USA again, says Andy F. I think a lot of people feel the same way. Steve Shrives has done several videos on fascism in Europe, how it started in the 20s and 30s and how it grew, what happened, good to watch. And I think this is more disgraceful now that it's happening now, because we know, at least in the 1920s and 30s, when everything was just the newspapers, I guess, not everyone could read, and communication wasn't as easy as it is today. There was an excuse of not knowing, but now there isn't. It's like everyone who voted for Trump knew they were voting for a rapist. There's no one, like in 2016, they were like, oh, I don't know what he'd be like. They knew exactly what he was like. They knew he was a misogynist. He bragged about assaulting women. They knew that he's been done for rape. They know that he has a string of failed businesses behind him. They know he was rubbish as a president. I mean, he was absolutely crap. And 1 million Americans died on his watch last time because of COVID. They died because the federal government did fuck all to help people in COVID, and it was all down to the states, and each state had different rules, and it was absolutely ridiculous. And more Republican voters died than Democrats in that. But one of the worrying trends we're seeing in the US, and I blame people like Nick Bretes and Jordan Peterson and that little weird talking. They all talk weird. What's his name? That American. That's what he sounds like all the time. Him and also Andrew Tate, obviously. They have appealed to a younger generation of particularly men who voted in this election, and you saw there was an uptick of young people voting for Trump. In fact, my generation, the older millennials, we voted for Kamala, yay! But overall, the older boomers and then the younger lot together, we were kind of like a little bit stuck in the middle. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose when you're in your 20s, you think things will be fun. Roger, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the. I've put retouch on. What did I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give you a little heart. Okay, I can't do that. Is that? It's, oh God, it's done something to my skin. Stop that. Roger, thank you very much. A drop in the ocean for your island repair bill. €10. That's really kind of you. Thank you, my friend. Comedy, use the political, Python, young ones, etc. You're not old enough, Graham. Back in my youth, obviously gay celebrities were actually anti their own, such as Kenneth Williams and Larry Grayson. Nick says, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I feel like Trump made very little effort in his campaign, and there are thousands of votes not accounted for. It does make you think, well, some of that haven't been counted. I think he won. unfortunately. Although it is very strange that that there was all this voter suppression and not voter suppression. There was people lying about who they were voting for and all that kind of stuff. And there's what's it called? Electoral fraud. There was fraud everywhere until it looked like Trump was going to win, and then all the claims of fraud disappeared instantly. Right wing BBC has axed all political comedy satire. They've even begged up Doctor Who, my very favourite show forever, says Jane. But gas was cheaper. Gallifreyan, I think the stock I'll take today is beef stock doing roast lamb. Oh, that sounds delicious. Can't get lamb over here, in the Americas. They don't really do lamb. Ben Shapiro, that's the one. If I debate him, that's the response I would say for everything. When he started talking, I'll go, that's what he sounds like. I mean, how can you take someone who sounds like that seriously? How can you take someone who sounds like Jordan Peterson, who sounds like Daffy fucking Duck? How can you take him seriously? I do not know. Trump is the master of projection, accusing the Democrats of everything he has done or wants to do. Absolutely. Just some suggestions of who else is an impression of Alex Jones, Roger Stone. Well, I mean, Joe Rogan is a huge problem because people love him. I mean, there's a whole group of fanatics who think he's the best thing since sliced bread for some reason, even though he's a thick as fuck wrestling commentator who has people on his show. He platforms the hard right, the Nazis of the world all the time. And just because he has Neil deGrasse Thompson on there or Brian Cox once in a while, it's like, oh no, it's okay, because he's not. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then he comes out on behalf of Trump. Of course he does. Johan says, just tuned in. Your island looks beautiful, Graham. Oh, thank you. Maybe you can hear the parrots making strange noises in the background. He sounds like Cartman from South Park. Even ignoring how these bellends sound, can anyone take seriously people who say stupid things all the time? Yeah, I know. Well, Jordan Peterson was arguing against, who's that guy? The evolutionary guy, Richard Dawkins, and he was trying to argue that dragons exist. Dragons. Anyway, listen, I've just heard the chainsaw start up at the other end of the island, so I'm guessing the working day has just started here on Jinja Island. So if you want to see some updates of what I'm doing here and little videos as I go, follow me on Facebook or Instagram or Threads. Probably Facebook's the best because I try and make it so that I can go to all three platforms at once, and sometimes it can and sometimes it can't, depending on like what settings are on. I don't know. Take care of yourself, Viv. You can't fight the good fight. You're having a nervous breakdown. Yeah, I mean, one of the big things I'll say right now is it's shit. It's really shit, and there's no problem. What's your Instagram? It's Graham David Hughes. Insta, Facebook, and oh no, Facebook's that Jinja Scouser, isn't it? I'll just look me up. You'll be able to find me. I'm holding my Guinness World Records certificate. But yeah, as far as the situation now, yes, things are shit. But what the right want more than anything is for us to just give up the fight. People like me and you and Super Tansky and Phil and all the people who make this content, they want us to stop making it. They want us to stop telling truth to power, and they're doing everything in their power to make that a thing. And the way that we fight against that in our own little way is by continuing, not just like, you can't create this stuff yourself, but just patronizing it, like just being there for each other in these networks and knowing. And this is why I always equated the anti-Brexit marches to gay pride, in that it's not necessarily about, the fact that we're going to stop the Tory government doing what they want to do. It's more about knowing that you aren't the only person on the planet who feels this way. You are by far the only person on the planet that feels this way. In fact, here you go. Here are thousands of other people who feel the same way you do. Here are millions, and in the case of Trump, here are billions. Solidarity, says Leanne Scott, absolutely. To quote the rallying cry, I see the trans community is taking up, survival is resistance. Yeah. Because when it comes to the trans community, or any community that is being demonized and scapegoated by the majority, they don't want you. They don't want you. So just being there, just being yourself, being your authentic self, that kills them. They hate it. They can't stand the fact that you're prepared to keep going. And it's difficult. I know it's difficult. But we need to keep doing it. We need to keep plugging away, because eventually we will get, the little wins that come in time. But we need to really be thinking about the future and where we're going to be in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, if we allow people like Thiel and Murdoch and Musk to control the brains of the lazy. The lazy people who are so lazy, these are not hardworking people, the lazy people who are so lazy that they cannot be bothered thinking for themselves. Like, I'm not talking about getting up and moving a load of soil or, chopping down some dead trees or whatever. I'm just talking about even just lying there on the couch, having an original thought for themselves. They can't be asked with that. So they get Murdoch to tell them what to think. They got Musk or Trump or Thiel to tell them what to think, because they can't be asked doing it themselves. And, that's who we've got to fight against. So if you are someone who is prepared to think for yourself and not fall into these personality cults around these cults, does it say cults? These see you next Tuesdays, then, eventually we'll win. We'll win, because these things come around. And one thing that gives me solace is the fact that Trump will not make life better for the average American at all, especially if he brings in these tariffs that he wants to bring in. He's going to make life demonstrably worse, and it's going to be our job to point that out. What's for dinner on Jinja Island? It's going to be maybe some rice and a fried fish and a Johnny cake. I think we'll see. Not events telling what to think, but what to feel about and whom. Indeed, and Alone is in there as well. Listen, I'm gonna have to go, because not only do I have to get to work, I'm also getting eaten alive. This mosquito coil is not doing its job. But also, I'm out of water. I've drank all me water. Drank all me water. So I'm getting a bit. Yeah. I will be back tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Nice and early, bright and early. For me, but it'll be 1 o'clock for you. So after watching James O'Brien, please come over here, tune in, and let's chill out on the island for the next episode of Island Brew. Yay! Let's do it. You take care as well, Leanne. Bye, everyone. Bye, Sean. Bye, Business Cat. Bye.